Hello students, Mr. Eric here. As you know, yesterday we tried to get started on our ecosystem food web project, but Poplet just didn't seem like it was going to work for us. So we're going to go a different route. Again, we're going to put this stuff, I'm thinking, in a Prezi eventually, but because I'm not going to be here, I didn't want you guys working on that today just because you wouldn't have the tech support end for me. So I thought we'd go ahead and we'd gather some information. We'll do our research. We'll get everything we need, and we'll put it into just. I made up slides for each organism, essentially. And then when we get back from break, we'll have all our information in one place, and then we can work on putting it into a Prezi and prettying it up and making it an engaging presentation. So again, this slideshow is not going to be your final product. It's just a placeholder where you can collect information, and then we'll dress it up later. I started off with just a simple slide for you to outline your ecosystems. So name your ecosystem up top. Where is it located? Give us a general idea. And then what kind of biome is it? So is it a prairie? Is it a desert? Is it a marine biome? Is it in the mountains, etc., etc.? Kind of give us the larger category that you think it falls under. And then we're going to get into all the different organisms here. So I filled out a specific number of slides here. So I want you to have an organism for each of these slides. And we've got producers first, and then consumers. And inside consumers, we've got a couple different niches. Primary consumer, again, those are the ones that eat plants. And, whoops, going the wrong way. And then secondary consumers, again, those are consumers that eat other consumers. And then one that we haven't talked a lot about yet, but apex predators. Now, apex predators are also secondary consumers, but an apex predator means that it's not eaten by anything else, or it's not the prey of anything else, at least. So I wanted to think. Usually, ecosystems have one or two or three key predators there, and that's who you're thinking about here, like the top predators in that ecosystem. We've also got a couple of slides for decomposers. Remember, these are the organisms that break down other dead organisms and recycle those nutrients back into the ecosystem or back into the soil so the producers can use them again. And then I also put down scavengers here, and scavengers are secondary consumers that don't hunt, so they don't really have prey. They just eat dead things that they find. So I've got a couple of those. So I want you again to fill out something for each of these cards. Now you'll notice that I wrote down on here a couple of specific things. I want you to be specific in these. So for organism, I want you to make sure you tell me the specific type of organism. So don't just say like spider, for example. You'd want to give me the species of spider that you're talking about. I've already got your niche written down on all these. When I say gets energy from, for producers, that should be an easy one because all producers are going to get their energy from the sun. Okay, so those ones are easy. Now, gives energy to. Okay, I want you to, again, be specific. Think about what types of organisms they give it to. So if I was going to say, grass. Whoops. If I was going to say grass, when I say gives energy to, I'd want to be specific. So I might say things like rabbits, turtles, cows. Okay, I'm naming specific animals here. So make sure that you're being specific, etc., etc. The next step then is I would go ahead and I would throw a picture up on this slide. Now because you'll be doing this eventually anyway. So again, I'll just do a quick Google search here. Grass. I'll change my search here so it matches yours. Maybe. Oh, what? Image search. My bad. Okay, and maybe that one. Looks good. And I'll go ahead and I'll drag that into my presentation. So I've got it. Okay, so again, that one's pretty much done. Now, again, I'm not going to fill out another one of these for consumer, but if I go to consumer here, name your organism. I've got your niche filled out for you. Gets energy from. Here you should be naming specific plants. Gives energy to. Again, you should be naming specific animals that eat this consumer. So I hope that is clear how you're supposed to fill these cards out. Now you might be asking, well, how do I find this information? So if I go up, some people I saw were just like typing in like Iowa, and they were expecting, and they were doing an image search, and they were like expecting pictures of all the animals they would need to come up. So even if I do Iowa ecosystem, and I'm just looking at pictures, I'm not going to be able to find what I need here. So you need to think about, what are you searching for? Number one, I wouldn't do an image search to start with. Once you know what organism you're looking for, then do an image search. What you should start off with is something like Iowa food web and see what comes up. Maybe there's already some nice food webs built by, like, say, the DNR or ISU or things like that. So I would look for things like this. I'm going to go to, ISU, Iowa Food Webs. There's a PDF. Iowa DNR probably has some good stuff. I'm going to open that up. Okay. There might be some other prezzies and things out there that you could take a look at, but, be careful of that. So, for instance, if I open this one up, go back here and look at this prezzy. So keep in mind that this could have been made by anybody. So if I go home, I'm just going to look at this thing. I can already tell this probably isn't a super high quality source, right? And then if I look through it, okay, we start off with grass. That's okay. There's trees over there too. Good. Corn. Okay, so those are producers. Raccoon. Okay, not spelt correctly. Probably indicates this isn't a good source. Deer. Sure. Cow. Wolf? It's been a while since I've seen any wolves in Iowa. Lion? I don't know that I've seen any lions in Iowa. So again, you got to be careful with your sources. Now, let's look at some of these other ones that we opened up from the DNR. So if this was made by, Iowa State University, I can probably assume that it's probably pretty good information. Although, I'm going to have to read a little bit here. So again, I come down here. I see that it's talking about, primary consumers. So plant eaters, deer, rabbits, right? So there's a couple of indicators there. Carnivores, secondary consumers, turkey vultures, beetles, crayfish. Okay, we've got, so they're giving me some examples here, but I have to read, right? I have to go through and I have to read for it. And they've got some images here that I can look at too. And then again, if I look at this other one that's from the DNR, okay, I'm just scrolling through looking at Iowa forest plants and animals. Here it's got a nice huge list of animals for me that I can look at, but I might have to dig a little bit deeper. Okay, you're going to have to look at what kinds of wildlife. So that might be another search that you'll do if you don't get anything for food web. Maybe I'll come over here and I'll do a search for Iowa wildlife. Okay, and then I'm just looking. There's a Wikipedia page. I'm going to skip that. I'm going to go to the DNR page because I assume that DNR is going to have some pretty good resources. So again, looking through this, I'm looking for like any indication of like what plants and animals are here in Iowa. I get down to the bottom. Okay, it's got some fact sheets of different big categories of animals. So maybe I want to look at mammals. And then here it's got a list of mammals that I can look at. And so maybe I want to, like, okay, maybe I want to look at the deer page. Well, that opens up another PDF, and I can go into this. And again, it's got a lot of information here. But what I'm going to want to look for is what does it eat and what is it eaten by? And I can see food and water over here. And when I'm looking in food and water, I can see that, okay, cultivated crops. So they're talking mainly corn and soybeans is what they say they eat in Iowa, which probably isn't a surprise to anybody. Okay, I don't see anything in here that talks about what kind of predators they have. I'm not so sure that deer really have much for predators here in Iowa anymore outside of people. So, I mean, you might put people down for their predator who they give energy to. Let's look at another example here. How about cottontail rabbit? That's one we're all familiar with. Again, I got to open up this document and I'm going to look. And then once I get into here, I notice, okay, food habits. And I say, or they say plants, summer foods, succulent herbaceous material, that's succulent plants. So we're talking leaves, stems, flowers of grasses, sedges, herbs, legumes. Those are like beans, garden crops. Okay, and then it says in the winter they start to eat woodier plants like willows, hawthorn, multiflora rose, etc. And then it says also agricultural waste such as corn and soybeans and things like that. So they have a lot of different things that they eat. I can go down here and look at, that's what they get. That's where they get their energy from. If I come down here to look at limiting factors, okay, we've got prey for virtually all types of predators. So, and then if we go on to read, predators known to take cottontails include skunks, house cats, dogs, badgers, foxes, coyotes, minks, weasels, bobcats, hawks, owls, snakes. So not only do I have information on my rabbit now, what it gets energy from and what it gives energy to, now that I've got this list of animals and plants, I could search more of those, and those could be ones that I use in my food web. So the first couple might take you a little bit more time to get down, but once you get a few of them done, then you should have plenty of ideas for what other organisms you should include in your food web. Now, I'm not saying that every site, every ecosystem is going to have like a site like this, but I bet a lot of them do. So I bet each state has a Department of Natural Resources, if you're doing one in the U.S., where you can get wildlife facts and things like that. So again, you're going to have to search for some information. Use search terms like your ecosystem wildlife, your ecosystem food web. That's what's going to lead you to sources on the web that are going to be worthwhile for you to look at. Save your image searching for once you get the names of your organisms, and then you can go find an image of each of them. I hope that's clear. Good luck working today. Have a nice break. I'm not going to see you before then. So have a good one.